Coming up on the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast.
So what I tell my clients is that when you're going through a detox, the toxins are stuck in your fat cells in your body to stay away from your bloodstream as a survival mechanism. So a lot of unexplained weight gain, like over the last 2 years, if people come to me and say, Sarah, I've done nothing different, I've gained all this weight, what's going on? Well, the toxic load that people are being bombarded with is so much higher. So the body has to encapsulate those toxins and store them in their fat cells.
Hello, and welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I'm Brian Gryn, and I'm here to give you actionable tips to get your body back to what it once was 5, 10, even 15 years ago. Each week, I'll give you an in-depth interview with a health expert from around the world to cut through the fluff and get you long-term sustainable results. This week, I interviewed health coach, podcast host of Accelerated Health Radio, and natural supplement expert, Sara Banta. We discussed her health journey along with her son's battle with cancer and how scalar technology can help increase your frequency to help support, strengthen, and boost your immune system. We also touched on accelerated keto products, detoxing from heavy metals, avoiding sugar temptations with salt, and the importance of prioritizing sleep. I really enjoyed my interview with Sara. Tons of great tips around supplementation and lifestyle habits. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy the interview. All right, welcome to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. My name is Brian Gryn, and I have Sara Banta on. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Doing great. And Sarah's a health coach and podcast host herself of Accelerated Health Radio, and also a natural supplement expert. So we'll get into some supplementation. And before we get into that, maybe explain to the audience a little bit of how you got into, becoming a health coach. I know you went to IAN, which is a place I went to back a while back. What sort of led you down this road?
If you told me I would be podcasting and into health when I was my high school year-old, very shy self, straight A student wanting to get into business, and I was in the stock market for a while after going to Stanford, and then got married, and my health just started going downhill. Couldn't really pinpoint it. Western medicine did not give me any answers. I was blessed to find a mentor who really is a big part of my business now. And if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have my business and I wouldn't have my health. But we just started peeling the onion, and I was suffering from heavy metals, from gut issues, Crohn's disease, PCOS, hormonal issues. I was starting to get wrinkles, but still had the teenage acne. It wasn't fair. And, hair loss, a lot of things that women are suffering from even more now than before. And so we just started peeling my health like an onion and taking care of things with natural supplements, dietary changes. And I always knew sugar was bad for me. I never really took to the high fat diet. I was very scared of that because that's what us women were taught back in the 90s. And then fast forward, mom of 3, my eldest, 9 years old. He was a really good student and a really good little athlete, normal boy. And all of a sudden he didn't want to go to swim lessons. He didn't want to go to school. His grades were failing, and I would go into his classroom because I helped in the classrooms, of course. And I'd see him just like leaning on his head, not being able to function at all. So we then dove into his health and came to find out he was on the road to leukemia. So with that, I knew that I had to stop what I was doing and save my child. I had no choice. And so when we got we saw his blood underneath a microscope, and not only were there cancer cells everywhere, but there was actually a lot of nutritional deficiencies. The cells were really clumped up together. And if anyone has seen blood underneath a microscope, You want it nice and plump and dark, and the cells to be big balls that are separated. And we can talk about that in a little bit, but the health of his body was declining significantly. So with that, I had been introduced to a supplement that's now Accelerated Silver, Scalar Silver. It's not a regular silver, and changed his diet a little bit, but I really didn't know a lot about diet back then. I knew to cut out the sugar and cut out the processed foods as much as you can with a 9-year-old boy. But we put him on the silver, and within a year, I just saw my son come back. We got the blood test redone, and I laughed because the lady who does the blood test, she's extremely blunt. She's the one that's going to say, you're going to die. Just straight out, you're going to die. Well, when we went back to get another test, his blood was so beautiful. She goes, Sara, this is the most beautiful blood I've ever seen of a child. No more cancer cells. The cells were nice and big and dark and black, meaning they were nutritionally full. So the nutrients were getting absorbed by the cells finally. Because if the cells aren't healthy, then the cells aren't even going to take in the good nutrients that you're ingesting. So with that, I knew I had something. I knew I had to share my knowledge, and I just started selling the silver outside my house, and that was it. And then I started learning more, and the more I learned, the more I realized I wanted to learn. I got into we have the Accelerated Gold, which is really helpful with anxiety and depression and increasing your IQ and helping with sleep. And we really then started getting into the power of scalar technology and how it can enhance these supplements. So there's a lot of frequency healing out there, a lot of frequency protocols. And on my website, people can learn about something called the Genius Insight app, which is, an app right on your phone that literally scans your body and over 10,000 items. It's based on the Skio machine, which is the machine, the $30,000 machine that my practitioner used to diagnose me, to diagnose my son, and tells you what's out of harmony, what's going on in the body. Well, we've taken that technology and put specific frequencies in some of the supplements to enhance their efficacy. So I've said a lot, so I want to make sure you can ask some questions.
Yeah. So when was your son healed? What year was this?
So that would have been 10 years ago. So around 2012. He's 19 now. He was 9 years old, and he was my eldest. So I have two girls that were then 7 and 5 at the time. And when I learned about the Accelerated Silver, the whole family started taking it. Since that day, not one of my kids has missed a day of school, and no antibiotics. It has been phenomenal. I can tell you with everything that's going on right now, the only reason that we know that we had COVID was because we had to be tested for either a plane flight or a function we had to go into. No one had symptoms. There was one night where I thought I had a pretty severe headache. I'm like, and that was it. But it has been extremely successful in dealing with what's going on right now. And this is what it is. I mean, it just tastes like water, looks like water. You just dump a little sip in your mouth for, a couple times a day. And it just boosts the immune system and devitalizes all foreign pathogens and viruses, bacteria, fungus, parasites. And you can use it topically. So the beauty of it is that it's good for babies and the elderly and people that are hard to get to take vitamins or supplements or even medication, and just boost the energy, boost the cell health, boost the nutritional absorption of the cells so that it's much more available to receive any scalar information or just nutrients from your food and your supplements.
Yeah. So this is called the Accelerated Scalar Silver. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then back to my son, he's now in college. In high school, not only was he not sick with cancer, he essentially broke a record at the national level in crew. So very athletic, did very well in school, got right back on track. My daughter, she never had cancer, but my goodness, you could not get that kid off the couch to ride her bike around the block at the age of 4. She had anemia and asthma and allergies, just always suffered. And she is at the national level for rowing as a junior and being recruited by schools. And then my youngest, she's had the benefit of the older siblings, going through crash course first. And so she's been my healthiest kid, of course.
Mhm.
The youngest always is. And really, I just am so grateful for my knowledge. And it also makes me realize how much more I want to learn, the more I know.
And who introduced you to these products?
Well, so my mentor, who I've been working with for, gosh, 15 plus years, has introduced me to, he's helped formulate a lot of the supplements in the Accelerated brand. And we've worked together over the years and, taking like the Accelerated Keto. So we both love the fact of, ketones and the magic of ketones, right? But we weren't happy with what was out on the market. We knew that we could do something different and something better. And so we took that supplement and added 9 additional cofactors from Ayurvedic herbs or Chinese herbs to enhance the fat burning, stoke the fire of the digestion, turn the saturated fats into unsaturated fats in the liver so it's more usable. So with Brian, with your audience who really are into intermittent fasting, the Accelerated Keto is that supplement that day one says, oh my God, I can do this. Okay, Brian, tell me what to do. Am I going to fast for 8 hours or am I going to fast for 3 days? Because it kicks you into ketosis within 30 minutes. But the steady energy and brain energy that you have for the whole day is amazing. It's steady. It's not jittery. It's not energy from the monster drink or from coffee. It increases that ATP production in the cells to increase the mitochondrial health, which is the powerhouse or the brain of the cells,
Mhm.
and responsible for producing that energy. So the Accelerated Keto takes it to another level. And with like my Accelerated iodine, that, iodine is a very controversial supplement. People are sometimes think that you have to be careful with iodine. Well, most people need to be careful with iodine because of the other ingredients in the iodine supplement that are toxic
Mhm.
to the body, or the body has a hard time breaking down that iodine. And it also has typically only 10 to 20% absorption. Well, the Accelerated iodine has 100% bioavailability. It is able to essentially, it has no toxicity. It comes from a non-toxic, non-radioactive source, which is very hard to find these days because of Chernobyl and Fukushima. But it actually has been shown to reverse the damage to the DNA done by the mRNA, the graphene oxide, and the spike proteins. So when people are wanting to reverse the damage from what's going on, that is a no-brainer. And it's enhanced with the scalar frequencies to detox from heavy metals and from radiation.
Yeah, so I'll definitely put a link in the show notes for your website, which is acceleratedhealthproducts.com. And so this line of products has started from that first product you mentioned, which is the silver. And what makes that unique? That product unique? Because that's like your flagship product, right?
Yeah. So people can Google the benefits of colloidal silver. It's been known for thousands of years as a natural antibiotic, antiviral, antifungal. It was the go-to antibiotic before antibiotics were were invented. And then when they were invented, the government, of course, wanted to push colloidal silver aside. Well, you also, a lot of people will say, well, why would I put a heavy metal in my body? I don't want to turn blue. They hear these rumors of the blue man. That would be very difficult to do. You would have to take a lot of crude silver to have your body turn blue as a side effect. And remember, I am one that was suffering from extreme heavy metal toxicity from aluminum and mercury and all of the others. They were skyrocketing. And so I'm the last person that's going to put a heavy metal in my body. So what we've done with the silver and the gold is take the minimum amount of silver or gold in the product, and it's got distilled water that goes through a water implosion technology system that is, I think there's only 5 of these systems in the world, let alone no system being applied to supplements like this, where it strips all of the rogue or bad frequencies from the water, because water holds frequencies. The water that you're drinking out of your Avion bottle or your sink or whatever, it's got not only maybe particles that you don't want in there, but it also is holding frequency. And you can actually program that water with frequencies that are healing. So for instance, say, Brian, you said, well, gosh, Sara, I have Lyme disease. What do I do? Well, you could actually take a bottle of the accelerated silver and program it with frequencies to devitalize the Lyme bacteria. Now, am I doing that for specific clients? No, because that's too specific. But what we are doing is we're putting frequencies in the accelerated silver to boost the thymus health, to help devitalize all coronaviruses, to help with other things as well. Like, and with the gold, we are enhancing it with frequencies to help relax the mind, relax anxiety. So many people are suffering from anxiety and depression right now. And what they don't realize is that anxiety and depression are increasing their stress level, increasing their cortisol, and reducing their immune system. So then they are going to get sick, right? You know, and I know you talk about the health of intermittent fasting and how that boosts your immune system. It also can help with the stress levels, because eating processed foods and eating all day long is very stressful on the system and very inflammatory. And when that inflammatory environment just provides a feeding ground for viruses and bacteria. So what we are doing is with the gold and the silver, you've got the silver boosting the immune system, enhanced with frequencies to help with that thymus health, with the devitalizing of the specific foreign pathogens that we want to go after. But then you've got the accelerated gold that is helping reduce the anxiety, help with sleep, open your mind. And many people don't realize this, but they may read in the Bible that the 3 gifts to baby Jesus, one of them was gold. Well, it was actually liquid gold. It was the healing benefits of gold. It wasn't like gold coins. You know, people think, oh, it was just, they gave him money. No, what's a baby going to do with money? So that is one of those things. They gave him frankincense and myrrh, and those 2 things are extremely healing as well. But the gold is has been known for thousands of years as well. And it's a spiritual element. It opens up the pineal gland just like iodine does. So iodine and gold are very important for your spiritual health, for connecting your pineal gland to your body. And that's why people say, I don't know what's going on, Sara, but when I'm doing your cleanse, my brain is awake. And all of a sudden, I'm getting rid of these toxic relationships in my life. And all of a sudden, I want to go clean my closet. And all of a sudden, I have all this energy and I'm forgetting to eat, right? Because you're burning the fat off your body. You get into that ketosis with the accelerated keto, but then you have these other supplements that are really enhancing the effects of intermittent fasting and ketosis, and making it super easy to stick to a low carb diet, and whatever that means. And when ketosis became a very trendy thing, and I don't know how you feel, Brian, now, and how your views may have changed, but back when I was first introduced to keto, I was still afraid of a high fat diet. And partly for a reason, it just never sat well with me. I don't think many people need to have a ton of dietary fat in their diet when they're eating keto, but more of a high protein diet, high wild protein diet where it's good quality protein, nutrient dense, but then filling in with the fat, just not like dumping a ton of butter in their coffee, and slabs of olive oil or butter and olive oil all over their food. Now my son, who's 9% body fat, needs to eat 6,000 calories a day just to keep going. He needs all the fat he can get because it's efficient, but most people don't, especially women. And so that's one of those things that I've changed around. But what I've tried to do with these supplements is to make them work synergistically, so that they're not just helping you lose weight, but they're helping you reverse age and increase that ATP production, increase that mitochondrial health, increase the brain activity and the brain energy. So you're doing life in so much more joyful way, and really, really getting the most out of it.
And you mentioned heavy metal toxicity. Actually, recently I just got a hair mineral test, and it was really interesting. I had Barton Scott, who, I don't know if you know his company, Upgraded Formulas, and they have a really cool where you test and have a consultant talk to you about your results. How did you know you were toxic, or how did you know that you had heavy metal toxicity?
I did a urine test. So
Okay.
what they do with that is that they collect urine over a 24-hour period. And what's so interesting, I'm glad you brought this up. A lot of people don't understand this, is that, so I took the urine test and my levels were high. It was aluminum, mercury, lead. That was the other one. The three were literally off the charts. And I live in a pathway, and I live in my hometown from where I was growing up. And I'm literally still in the same pathway underneath airplanes. So the airplanes go up, and all of the homes that I've lived in, other than the 4 years I went to Stanford, were in this jet path. So the amount of lead and heavy metals that were dumping on me, let alone the GMO foods that I was eating and everything else going on with, we didn't know what we were doing for the past 40 years. I now know. So those were at that level. But then I started doing the chelation process and getting the heavy metals out. 2 weeks in, I do another test. My levels were even higher. So what I tell my clients is that when you're going through a detox, the toxins are stuck in your fat cells in your body to stay away from your bloodstream as a survival mechanism. So a lot of unexplained weight gain, like over the last 2 years, if people come to me and say, Sarah, I've done nothing different, I've gained all this weight, what's going on? Well, the toxic load that people are being bombarded with is so much higher. So the body has to encapsulate those toxins and store them in their fat cells. Okay, so when I'm doing a chelation process and getting the heavy metals out of my body, what's happening is those heavy metals are coming out of the tissues and the fat cells into the bloodstream and trying to escape the body. So when I test for it, the test is showing that my levels are higher because more is in the bloodstream. And that's a good sign. But then obviously the levels go down. So what's great about this is that since then, because how I got the heavy metals out of my body was a very expensive chelation process where I had to go into a facility a couple days a week. But now between the acceleridine, which kicks out heavy metals, the bromide, the fluoride, and the chlorine out of the thyroid and out of all the tissues. Now, most women and men don't know this, but there are 4 times the amount of iodine receptors in breast tissue. So when you start kicking out those toxins and filling those receptor sites with iodine, you are reducing your risk of cancer by 50%. So the acceleridine is kicking those toxins out. But then I have a supplement called Nuke No More that works directly with the acceleridine. And this is a scalar frequency charged Ormus formula that supports the removal of all the harmful non-ionizing and ionizing radiation. And that includes the EMFs from smartphones, smart meters, 5G, the Zoom we're on, our, flying in the jet fuel that I'm under. And what I used to recommend is just go through 1 bottle of that. And then you can just do it again when you're going on a flight or doing some travel, and keep your cells nicely hydrated with the acceleridine. But now, with everything that we have been experiencing over the last 2 years, the recommended dose is to do 2 bottles of it, and then to do it 3 times a week after that for maintenance. But between the acceleridine, the Nuke No More, and then the accelerated cellular detox powder that soaks up all the toxins, so that your liver and your kidneys are not burdened with all those toxins they're not meant to be burdened with. Our ancestors did not have to deal with what we're dealing with. And so that detox powder soaks all that up, and it takes it out through your intestines very gently. It's a daily detoxifier, helps with Crohn's disease, IBS, IBD, and helps with any inflammation in the gut. And that's really important as well. But with those, then you're detoxing, but you're soaking it up, so you're escaping any of the detox effects. And the accelerated ancient salt, which I haven't mentioned, is also scalar enhanced with frequencies to rehydrate the cells. And a lot of people that are on keto and in intermittent fasting, they know the importance of salt, but everyone on the standard American diet thinks salt's bad and you need to be on a low salt diet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the accelerated salt has 62 minerals in it, and it hydrates the cells. It can get you out of a detox crisis if someone has a headache, or they feel nauseous, or they actually are trying to suppress their appetite to intermittent fast longer. You just put a little of the salt on your tongue or in water, and it's magic. It will help someone get out of a diabetic crisis if their blood sugar is too high. It will help satisfy their sugar cravings. It will help suppress their appetite. It will help with any nausea, because we get the nausea from our gallbladder and liver if we're trying to detox, and there's like a detox dump. So sometimes that will happen when you're intermittent fasting or trying to change your diet. The salt gets you out of that and really stabilizes the blood sugar, helps with digesting fats as well. So some people who switch to the ketogenic diet, I don't know if you've experienced this with clients, will say, Brian, I've tried the keto, I can't do it. The high fat just doesn't work with me. And it's because their liver and gallbladder are gunked up and they can't break down those fats. Well, the accelerated ancient salt helps with that breakdown of fats as well.
So that salt supplement that you mentioned, you just sprinkle that on your food and stuff, just like a normal salt?
Yeah, I don't, I carry it around in this little tin in my purse, because I won't use salt at a restaurant other than that, because it tastes so good. You really don't need a lot of seasoning if you're using that salt. I use it on my food. I use it just on my tongue if I need it to suppress an appetite, or if I'm getting a headache. Most headaches or low energy are from a lack of electrolytes, not a lack of food, as you know. And you can also use it in a detox bath. You can put like a tablespoon in a bath with really cheap dead sea salt from Amazon, like a cup of it, and it will help detox your body through your skin, which is another awesome application. And I also tell people that a lot of their sugar cravings are actual salt cravings. So try supplementing with salt before you dive into the Oreo cookies and see what happens.
Very true. I think a lot of people think they're hungry, but they're actually, they have some dehydration going on. And like you said, maybe lacking some electrolytes. And actually, I got my test back regarding electrolytes and heavy metal. And yeah, I was a little bit low in like sodium and potassium. So yeah, a product like this is great. What would you say? And I mean, you guys have a lot of different products, probably formulated over the past years. What would you say, other than the supplementation? What type of lifestyle changes maybe did you make through the years for yourself and for your clients?
I just have to point to this thing right here, and that's the ring. I mean, because I was always
And that's the Aura Ring, is that
the
right?
the aura ring. I mean, type A personality, go go go. I'm a mom of three, I'm a wife, I'm running my own business, I don't need sleep, I can just go go go, and
Yeah.
supplements and diet and exercise will keep me going, right? Well, no. So I have, especially for women who have hit perimenopause and menopause, if they are not taking care of their sleep, you're going to run out of gas, because your adrenals take over the production of your female hormones, because your ovaries essentially die. So then you're going to experience adrenal burnout if you don't take care of yourself. So I have really tapped into the power of sleep. I shut it down by a certain time. It doesn't matter what I still have to do. I make sure that I get at least 7 hours of sleep. I really try to get 8 hours of sleep a night. And with the help of the supplements, with the help of stabilizing my blood sugar, also with the help of some of these stem cell patches that I have, oh gosh, I usually wear them right here, are
Mm-hmm.
energy enhancer ones. And then there's other ones that increase ATP. They help with the stem cells, but they have a sleep patch as well. And ever since I've incorporated those patches, my sleep has been so consistent. I score in the 90s every single night. Doesn't matter how stressful my day has been. So that would be number one. Number two, exercise, but it doesn't have to be go gung ho every single day. I try to walk my dogs at least for 20 to 30 minutes a day to lower my cortisol and stress, get my vitamin D outside. I also try to focus on heavy strength training, especially as a woman. Muscle mass is really important as you're getting older. So I'm not chronic cardio. I think that was just beaten into us when we were younger, and it doesn't do you any good. Men can get away with it a lot better than women can. But so I really focus on that. I remember a couple of years ago, this was before COVID, I was doing strength hot yoga classes. And I would go into these classes, and there would be this group of women, of 5 to 6 women, that were coming straight from an Orange Theory class. And I don't know if you have an Orange Theory back in Chicago.
Yeah.
But it's hardcore
Right.
endurance and strength, rowing and cycling. So they were going from that to another hard workout, but they all had these the tires around their stomach. They could not get rid of this belly fat. Well, that's cortisol. The body's totally stressed out, and it doesn't think it can survive, and needs to hold on to that belly fat. If you're going to be working out that hard and you're burning out the adrenals. So I really learned my lesson. I used to work out chronic cardio, and it didn't work. Didn't give me the results I wanted. And so those are the two things that I really, they're non-negotiable for me. Hugs, I would say. Dopamine hits from hugging your kids or hugging your dogs or hugging your spouse. That's a non-negotiable as well. And gosh, outside of that, the other thing as far as diet goes, high quality animal wild protein. You know, it's a misnomer that you're getting your vitamins from the vegetables and the fruits. I still eat vegetables and fruits, but I eat them because I enjoy them, not from the nutrients. The nutrients in the bison, the lamb, the deer, the elk, the wild salmon, those high quality nutrient foods have so much more of the vitamin Bs and zincs and even the vitamins that you think you're getting from kale and blueberries, you're not. And then you're getting the plant poisons like the oxalates and the sulfur vegetables and the lectins from the vegetables that may be doing you more harm than you know. And you know, there's a reason that you feel bloated after having a plate of Brussels sprouts or broccoli. They're full of sulfur, and you might not be able to break down sulfur, but here you think you're eating a low carb, ketogenic, nutrient dense food, right? Sulfur vegetables don't work for me, and sulfur vegetables don't work for my whole family. So I teach my clients how to eliminate some of the vegetables, reintroduce them, see if they work for their bodies after they've healed their gut, because I also take them through a healing process of healing their gut. And you can use that program on the phone that called the Genius Insight app to actually see what vegetables work for your body and what doesn't, and what proteins work for your body. It's really interesting. Like this morning, I scanned myself, and for the protein, my body's like, I want duck, lamb, or bison, but not really feeling the fish today. Like your body's, and it's changing, right? And then when you eat the wrong types of protein, like chicken or conventional beef, not grass-fed, grass-finished beef, but conventional beef or chicken, you're getting these amyloid proteins that can't be broken down in the body and the brain. And then you have those amyloid plaques that are being deposited in the brain, leading to Alzheimer's and dementia. So here you are thinking you're eating a low carb, ketogenic diet, tons of chicken Caesar salad, no croutons, right? But that chicken is causing brain issues and inflammation in the brain and the body with the high level of omega-6 fatty acids versus the omega-3s. So there's a way to do keto right and a way to do keto wrong to be incorporated with your intermittent fasting for the benefit of the body. And so that was the other thing that I've really taken away from the supplements is food matters. And it's not just what you're eating, but it's what you're not eating as well.
Yeah, lots of great tips there. So prioritize sleep, focus on strength training, avoid chronic cardio, prioritize protein, right? Quality animal proteins. And, you know, if, like you said, there's certain people that are sensitive to vegetables, and they ought to just something to keep an eye on. What's your routine? If you talk about prioritizing sleep, what's your morning and evening routine around your sleep?
So before going to bed, I really try to shut my phone off a little bit, but it's obviously hard to do. I have some team members for my company that are in Australia. So just as I'm finishing out my day, they're waking up. So that's hard to do. But I put my patches on, and I've got so there's a couple patches I'll just talk about quickly. One is called the Alavita patch, and it's made for skin to help with wrinkles and skin. But the other benefit is it calms the nervous system down and helps with sleep. And then the Silent Night patch helps with melatonin production and a natural way, your body to produce its own melatonin. I am not a fan of taking a melatonin supplement. It actually can reduce the size of testicles for all of you men out there. So I recommend not supplementing with melatonin, but this actually has your body produce its own melatonin. And then another patch that's called the Eon patch that flips you into parasympathetic mode out of sympathetic mode. So it really calms you down. Within 20 minutes of putting those on, I'm out. I'm petting my dog in bed, and I'm going to sleep. Then when I wake up, I like to wake up before the rest of the house. I feed my dog, and I go and I take my Acceleradine first because it needs to be taken away from everything else. And I sit and I just kind of get my mind around what's going to happen that day. I just envision my day the way I want it to go, and essentially manifest it in things going smoothly. How am I going to feel? How productive am I going to be? And I really envision that. And I really am cognizant of the thoughts that are going through my head. Then I'll turn my computer on for about 30 to 45 minutes. Just make sure I don't need to do anything, put out anything that's immediate. And then I put my shoes on and my workout clothes, and I'll either take the dogs for a short run before strength training, or I'll hop on the rowing machine for 20 minutes to warm up my body, listen to podcasts. I listen to sermons. It's either about health, it's about a sermon, or just someone that is extremely interesting to me. And I also then, after my workout, I will touch in with my groups and my group coaching. My group coaching's free. I talk about in my coaching on a daily basis what health issues people are asking about, how to detox, how to address all the things that we've been talking about. And, so my workout is definitely short cardio, definitely strength training, a little bit of dog, and getting my mind set. And that's my time to really get my focus and ready for the day.
Excellent. Well, lots of great tips there. Before we finish up, where's the best place for people to find? I know you have, we'll put a link to the acceleratedhealthproducts.com. Is there anywhere else that any individual should check out what you're doing?
Well, you can look up Sara Banta and you'll pretty much find me. My new website is coming within the month, which will be sarabantahealth.com.
Okay.
And then within that, you'll find Accelerated Health Products. So either way, you'll find me, and you can also find my podcast. And Brian will be on my podcast in June, Accelerated Health Radio and TV, and it's on over 100 different podcast platforms, and iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, it's on there. And Roku, you can find it.
Excellent, Sara. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and telling us, your routines and everything based around your accelerated health products. So definitely check those out. Lots of great products. I've been checking them out over the last few days. So I'm definitely interested in getting some of those, especially maybe that's the silver product. So
awesome.
Yeah. So thank you again for coming on.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening to the Get Lean, Eat Clean podcast. I understand there are millions of other podcasts out there, and you've chosen to listen to mine, and I appreciate that. Check out the show notes at briangryn.com for everything that was mentioned in this episode. Feel free to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend or family member that's looking to get their body back to what it once was. Thanks again, and have a great day.